individual.
Now, second question, Deputy Eamon Gilmore.
Cancórla, I also want to raise a pension-related issue. I want to raise with the Taoiseach the plight of pensioners in this country and low-income households who are facing a double whammy this weekend. People who will lose their fuel allowance because the winter fuel allowance will come to an end at the end of April, but whose costs for heating oil will increase as a result of the introduction of the carbon levy. Now, when the Minister for Finance announced the budget last year, he introduced a carbon levy, and that is coming into effect on Saturday next in respect of heating oil. It will increase the price of heating oil by 8.7%. When he introduced the budget, he promised that there would be a vouched system of fuel allowances introduced for low-income families who were affected by the introduction of the carbon levy. My colleague, Deputy Roisin Shortall, has been pursuing the current Minister for Social and Family Protection and his predecessor about this issue for the past 6 months. And in 6 months, the government have not done anything to bring in this allowance. There are 300,000 families, households in this country who will be affected by this next Saturday. The increase of 8.7% on their heating oil bill coming on top of the increase in the price of oil over the course of the past year. It's gone up by 37%. Total increase for these households on low incomes in heating oil, those who are dependent on heating oil, of 45%. Now, what I want to ask the Taoiseach is this. This is due to come in next Saturday. Will you either have the allowance brought in as was promised in the budget, or will you postpone the introduction of the carbon levy on heating oil until such time as the allowance is brought in to protect low-income families from the effect of the carbon levy?
Well, the issue is, in relation to the allowance that's available presently, free fuel allowance, etc., and the various social welfare supplementary schemes that are in place to assist low-income families. They will be available, obviously, and they cover the autumn to the March period, which is the period when the heating requirements of people are most in need. And so, therefore, the question of that being provided for will be provided for in the normal way from then on. In the meantime, if there are any hardship cases, the exceptional need payment scheme continues to be available for people.
Please, supplementary.
That doesn't address the issue at all. First of all, the winter fuel allowance, which operates normally from October to April, will expire. That's been there already. It's a standard fuel allowance that's available throughout the winter. Indeed, I think many families will know, many households, particularly elderly people, who are more prone to the cold than others, will know that even the end of April is not perhaps the appropriate time to end that. That if we have the kind of summer we had last summer, very many elderly people have had to have recourse to heating during the summer period. The point I'm making here, Taoiseach, is that the Minister for Finance promised an additional allowance, a specific allowance for low-income families. He said it would be a vouched allowance. It was never spelled out what kind of a vouched allowance it would be. There was to be a specific allowance to protect low-income households against the impact of the carbon levy. The carbon levy is going to increase the price of heating oil by 8.7%. And as I pointed out to you, it's coming on top of increases in oil anyway over the course of the past year. It's going to present an additional hardship for people who have already. These are people whose social welfare payments were already cut by the government in the budget. These are people who had an additional cut in their payments as a result of the abolition of the Christmas bonus, and now they're being faced with additional fuel costs for the introduction of the carbon levy. And the Minister sitting beside you, and who's prompting your reply just now, promised Deputy Shortall last February that this scheme would be in place before the carbon levy was introduced. Now, the carbon levy is coming in on Saturday, and what I want to know from you is this, very simple. Will you have this allowance in place by Saturday, or will you postpone the introduction of the carbon levy until it is in place, in line with the commitment that was made by Minister Hanafin when she held the Social and Family Affairs portfolio?
Well, the situation is as I've outlined it to the Deputy, and that is that in relation to the schemes that which it operates, the time from when it operates, there will of course be allowance made for low-income families. In the meantime, we have, through the supplementary welfare scheme, anyone who is involved in a hardship, the exceptional needs payment is provided. It won't be a question of anyone being. It won't be a question of anyone. It won't be a question of anyone being snowed under, whatever. It's a question. It's a question of making. Sorry, it'll be a question of making sure that the exceptional needs payment system will meet any hardships in that regard.
Now that completes leaders'